In my last video, I took your D&D games to the next level by showing you how to paint some housing, and this week we are going to combine that with our cobbled streets. This is the city streets set from Dungeons and Lasers, and I'm going to show you not only how to paint it, but how to do it at speed and efficiency. The set itself comes in 3 parts. You've got your normal connector clips, which you can just put in the pile with the rest. You've got your city street lamps, and you've got the floor tiles that make up both the pavement and the cobbled streets. To increase efficiency, we're going to do some very tactical cuts with the sprue here, and we're going to make them so they are easier to handle while painting and able to paint and prime in batch. So by doing just a few tactical cuts, you can make little pieces that look like this. As with every Dungeons & Lasers kit, a sharp pair of clippers to cut away from the sprue, and then using an electric sander to smooth them out like so. For anyone yet to invest in one of these sanders, they are already £20 from Amazon and they hold a surprising amount of battery life. To start this project, we will be using Shadowling Grey as our foundation. Now, what I actually did is I used a primer from TTCombat that was dark grey. That saved that first step completely. We're also going to take a stippling brush and we're going to take about half the paint off it, and we are repeatedly going to stab Admiralty Grey into the stone. We're going to do this for both the cobbles and the flagstone, creating a speckled texture. Top up the paint when needed, but try and keep your stippling consistent. Stippling is a technique I don't feel is used enough in mini painting. It can be really good for providing weathering to leathers and the tail end of cloaks that need a little extra mud, but for flagstone it is really good. When it comes to terrain, most people tend to default to dry brushing. Stippling is a great alternative because it gives extra texture onto those flatter and recessed areas. By working through a gradient of colours, you can also create some of the smoothest blends in mini painting. And speaking of mini painting, if you need any supplies, visit Griffin Gaming with the link below and use code MikeBones for a discount. That's where I got all the tools for today's video, with the exception of the rotary tool and the city streets itself. I got these on discount at Griffin Gaming with rapid customer service. They're also going to be stocking the new StarCraft, so get in on it. If you find that any of your paintbrushes are clogging paint and hardening, like my stippling brush here or many a dry brush I've had, use hand sanitizer to break down the paint. When doing stippling or dry brushing, you never want to apply moisture to the brush unless very sparingly. So doing this can avoid saturating your brush and allow it to dry much quicker, getting you back into painting. Hand sanitizer can be used to break down paint on natural hairbrushes as well as synthetics, and keep applying to the paper towel so your brush is both clean and dry. Look at that, good as new. Moving on to the next stage, we're going to use blue liner paint. Now this is from Reaper Miniatures, and by applying it as a wash, watering it down 70%, we can blend those stipples with the base layer. This is going to make it look like it's very much part of the rock rather than just painted over. We're going to apply this wash solely to the flagstones, and I highly recommend you do this first. Later on in the video, I do include a full guide on painting these street lamps, so this is a good point to work on those while these are drying. You don't want to move on to the cobblestone because we will be applying a wash to those, and we do not want the blue bleeding into the brown we will be applying shortly. Washes on such flat areas of terrain can take up to an hour to dry, so alternating between the lamps and the city streets may be beneficial for you. While making this guide, I was actually painting 2 sets of city streets, so by the time I went full circle, we were ready to apply the next stage. For those like me who are working on large-scale Dungeons & Lasers projects, pre-mix your batches of washes. This will allow you to be more consistent across the board. For more advice on that, check out my previous video on the cottages. Once everything is dry, do take a moment to critique your own work to make sure things are as consistent as you like them. If any are too bright, apply a second wash and help harmonize those colors. For me, this is the one I consider perfect, so this is the one I'm using as my reference for all of the tiles. When you're happy with everything, we're going to move on and we're going to start picking out some individual stones. For this, you're going to want a mixes of browns. I suggest maybe 2 or 3 colors. My first choice was trench mud. We're going to be applying this to just a spackling of alternate tiles. With mini painting, the eyes do get bored if they're looking at something so consistent. So just by doing this little speckle here and a speckle there, it could really increase the depth of your terrain. The human brain loves little stimulus like this, and I give this advice to anybody painting leaves, stone, anything that's kind of monotonously the same. This is why I recommend battle damage on things like Space Marines, because Jesus, they're dull. Once the flagstone's dry from its wash, you can also apply the same to those. At the end of this project, you may even choose to apply some water effect for small puddles, or some stubs of grass using little tufts. These are all excellent ways to vary up your city streets. For those particularly adventurous among you, you may not even be using these for Dungeons & Dragons, perhaps for things like the Batman Miniatures game, where they're the streets of Gotham City. For that, I'd even use my printer to make some little wanted posters or litter that can go through the entire streets. So we're going around again, and this time I'm using Mummified Khaki, just for that extra variation. Red browns can also work really well here. No streets are completely clean, so we're going to be using a brown wash. Now this is again made out of liner paint. This is brown liner mixed with about 80% water. Most of you will be asking, why aren't you just using brown washes and blue washes like earlier? These are heavily pigmented, which means I can create a stronger gradient between pure concentration and a very thin wash. Moreover, these are incredibly matte as well, so when it comes to looking like a dirty city street, this is much more accurate and leads to a better finish. As always, the wash has a long drying time, so you might want to go back to your lamps at this stage, but if these are dry, hit them with a dry brush of that trench mud. This is just again to build up some mud texture, so not all the mud is in the recesses, some of the cobbles are dirty as well. This also makes those khaki stones and the trenchment ones sit more naturally with the others around it. If all goes well, this is the kind of effect you should be looking for. It's dirty, none of the colours stand out particularly too much, and it looks fit for the tabletop. That said, we do need to improve it one more time by going back to that Admiralty grey and getting all those edges picked up from the dry brush. I'll say this in nearly every video, but the point of terrain isn't just to look good on its own, it's to make your miniatures stand out against it. So keeping all these muted colours with your miniatures will pop against them. Great for photography and look great for your games. Don't forget to hit the edges of the flagstone as well, and that will finish your city streets. But for those who've still got the energy, go straight into your lamps, applying the same Admiralty grey to the bases. I chose grey as it's more efficient and makes this set much easier to get through. We're going to be using some spotlight yellow to give the lamps some warmth, and don't worry about that little cross piece of metal, we're going to come back to that later when it's much easier to paint. So you could be a little sloppy here. With this being part of the same city as my cottage project, I chose to match the woods. If you have a look at the top here, I will be including the link to that video. After your base layer of spotlight yellow is dried, apply another watered down layer to make sure you have a consistent colouring. It's time to edge highlight that red brown and apply some wood grain. To make sure it looks as old as the rest of the city, we are going to apply some edges of brown. Using the edge of the brush will make this much easier for you and maintain your point for future projects. Making these lamps look a little brighter, we're going to apply some yellow wash from the TTCombat range, and we're going to water it down about 50%. This is going to increase some of the focus of the light and really look like there's an originating source inside the little hub. It may be starting to smell and admittedly tastes a little funny, but our smoke wash from our previous project is ready to be applied to the red brown. For those who didn't watch that video, this is smoke ink from Vallejo, mixed with just a little bit of black acrylic and watered down. I make this in a huge batch because I use it for just about everything. The pirate ship project, the city, all of it, even my orc metal and leather coats. We're now going to apply some Shadowling grey with just a little bit of black thrown in, and we're going to apply that to all of the housing for the lamp. We're then going to highlight that top using just Shadowling grey, leaving a nice little blank recess in between each of the slates. The little cross beams across the glass are going to be done in the same way, and again, use the edge of your brush to make this even easier. Building up those highlights and putting in some natural streaks on the slate are going to make these really pop against those grey city streets. Also, to make them stand out, I used a sharp streak of white along the very edges for the bits that may be implied to be metallic. That's the base of the lamp and the little rings on the top. Hopefully by the end of this guide, it should all be looking a little something like this. If you are happy with your work, you can stop there, but there's always an opportunity to go back and touch things up. Just remember, you are going to be viewing these from mostly 4 to 6 feet away, so don't be too harsh on yourself and make this an enjoyable project. When you put your buildings, your civilians, and all the little props in the city, I promise you nobody is going to be staring at the lamps. Just a little announcement for those who are excited for the new Dungeons & Lasers Dusk Hollow. I will be covering it on the channel, and I will be doing previews of some of the kits ahead of release, so please do make sure you subscribe along for that. If you follow the project before it goes live, you will also be added a free Baba Yaga gift to your campaign pledge. I will also be live streaming painting this on Twitch, so make sure you follow along with the links below. Moreover, for those who are loyal to the Dungeons & Lasers brand, there is also a follower gift of this amazing Bugbear Paladin, who I am really excited to paint. Bugbears are horribly underappreciated in the world of D&D. To all those who made it this far, I thank you for your time and do hope I've earned your subscription today. I will be back very soon, and we will be covering some more hero quests on the channel as well. We do have Wizards of Morcar. Thank you to all those on my Patreon. It is with your help I'm able to make content like this, and I will be forever grateful.